The Dream Media Network, Southern Arizona's premier live talk and online radio.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Live the Dream Media Big Wednesday. If you missed Dan Shear, he says he's going to come back, so that was not his last. You never know. But we covered cults, which was great. We were covering this cult down in the Tubac to Makakakori area, and it lit up the light. Everyone loves cults. I don't know why. They love their cults. It's amazing. Before we get on with Alicia, thank you, Dan. Great segment talking about she's been studying the cult down there. So who knew? Who knew? We were going to do this much cult work today. I want to thank everyone who came to our live remote at Gap Ministries yesterday. You guys were amazing. We were looking for $100 donations in the 7 o'clock hour. You guys came through with 227. The Wakies, you are amazing. Thank you very much. Thanks to Dave and Clint and the whole team and Shay for making it happen. And then thanks to Jason and the crew and Greg at Gap Ministries. Win-win all the way around. So thank you. Thank you. Good morning to our libertarian compadres. Peter Norquest, good morning, my friend.
Hey, good morning, Chris. Good to be here.
And then hip-hop taxation is theft superstar, Dru Heaton.
Aloha and good morning.
Hi, lady. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks
How
for
was your
having
Easter?
us. It was good. It was a little quiet, but yeah,
Okay.
no, it was good.
I like quiet, peaceful Easters.
Yeah.
Kind of part of the beauty of it.
Yeah.
So you guys, before we bring them on, you guys premiered a film, Southern Arizona premiere
Yeah.
of a film at the Libertarian World Headquarters of Southern Arizona.
Mhm.
And what was this movie? What was the name of the movie and what was it about?
The Power to Move is a documentary about Thomas Quieter's organization, Mobility Independence Foundation. And he is, I would say, a very abled man, but within the disabled community, and is talking about something that we often don't see because it's hidden, right? It's not. And that kind of came up actually when we were communicating this morning about coming in. You thought maybe he was coming in studio and
Right.
realizing that he would be coming in a wheelchair. It's like, maybe we need to postpone this.
Was so ripping up our parking lot.
Right.
Yeah,
But
that's
again,
the crucial thing right
Yes.
things that we don't think about on a daily basis, right? But now, all of a sudden this morning, you're thinking, if this gentleman is coming in studio, wow, maybe we need to postpone it because
Chris is a sensitive SOB.
you are.
there.
I love it. But luckily, of course, he is going to be remoting in. But also, I would have been happy to say, you know what? Thomas has got it. His equipment could have handled that parking lot. No problem.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's put our headphones on so we can
Okay.
listen to this young man. Hold on. I know how to put headphones on after all these years. Here we go. All right. Good morning and welcome to Thomas Quieter. How are you doing, sir?
I am still alive despite our healthcare system. Thank you for having me.
And Dru and Peter were telling me that you are a New York guy. And I am also. So they thought we would connect by that New York thing. So
I have always lived in Shenango County, a hamlet of the town of Guilford. If you blink, you'll drive through it and not see it.
what's a real town in upstate you're near?
I'm about an hour from any city, middle of nowhere, center of the state.
Gotcha.
Let's see. Oneonta is about an hour away.
Okay.
Binghamton is south. Syracuse is 90 minutes north. Thankfully, I'm 2 hours from Albany. 4 hours from New York City, so that's good.
I know exactly where you're at now, sir. A lot of friends went to SUNY Binghamton when they went to college. So,
I actually worked with SUNY Binghamton many years ago before the foundation. I donated an old wheelchair, and they got it so that they could drive it with their eyes.
Wow.
Yep.
So tell us your story and tell us about the movie, but tell us about you've been on a pretty good crusade here. So tell us the superhero origin story of this crusade.
Well, it all starts with bad policy. The healthcare regulations had changed, and in 2014, I reapplied for the same wheelchair I had had several times before and was denied, and was told to choose between a range of wheelchairs that were inadequate, both for my physical condition and for the fact that I live on a farm. I would have been harmed just by sitting in them for a few months and would have ended up in the bed. I refused. I split my meager disability income between automating things in the home and buying used parts to keep the wheelchair going. And it's kind of like, you ever have a junker car? You know, your first car is usually something old you buy, and it gets to the point where repairing it is not cost effective. I was at about that point, and I came across the exact wheelchair I needed on eBay for $4,500. Sounds like a good buy, considering the original price of one of those is somewhere around 50 to 75, depending on all the features. And the joke of that is, because of disability welfare, I'm not allowed to have more than $2,000 in the bank. So purchasing that was completely out of my range. And two libertarians actually convinced me to crowdfund. It's something I'd been doing for others since, well, I think the age of 15.
Look at those libertarians doing things instead of just arguing on Facebook. I love this. This is good.
They crowdfunded. So mind you, I had never received a new power chair in less than 2 years through the systems. And I've always been over insured. They raised the money, shipped it from Texas, and we modified it in less than 2 months. And that chair was barely used. And I knew that gave me 8 years of my life, because that chair will last. Yep. In fact, I'm still using it because we can maintain it. It's hard to explain what that means to someone who'd been trapped in an apartment for 5 years, when they're used to being outside, they're used to working, they're used to providing.
Yep. Hey, Thomas, real quick. The state of New York, usually run by leftist Democrats who would be considered, they are probably the most compassionate elected officials on the face of the planet. Well, I know you're shaking your head. This is right. So why was the state of New York taking such a hard stand on you getting the proper wheelchair for your situation? What did they tell you on why they were hardballing you here?
Well, they just told me that it was no longer fit in the code. And you can thank the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. You know, they guaranteed coverage despite your pre-existing condition, but they never told us what they guaranteed you for. You know, and apparently I was guaranteed a slow and horrible death, which I refused. So, you know, the Libertarian Party saved my life, in my opinion, at that point. And then I was asked to form a county committee in a county that they had failed to form in 2 years. I got it done in 8 weeks. And 8 weeks later, I multiplied the registration in that county by a factor of 9. I ended up on a committee of county chairs in the district to find someone to run for state senate against a rhino. It is New York, right? We don't really have Republicans. We have people who like to take Democrat money. Some of them are good, but they fail because they're a minority. And he had been voting for vaccine mandates since long before COVID. So that was fun. Very, very corrupt gentleman, by the way. And he really liked riding around in Cuomo's memo. So I'm a very anti-Cuomo person.
Well, I'm not a fan either, Thomas. So yeah. Did you sue the state of New York?
Nope. I did end up suing the federal government recently, but we can talk about that later. So what happened was I was on this committee to find someone to run against him, and we failed to find anybody to run against him. Of course, the Democrats didn't put anybody up against him because they like him. And everybody turned to me and said, you should run. Be a paper candidate. Message on the internet. You know, expand the party. You seem to be good at it. And, you know, I said, okay. And then it turned out that I was in one of the most applicable races for the party that cycle, 2020, by the way, the year in which I defied all of the mandates. And all of the best staff from the party flocked to me, and all of a sudden I have a real race. So when people were afraid to leave state and come back, I went to Florida for the national convention and back, and I traveled between 5 and 7 days a week, the entire large district of 4 rural counties. Broome County, Chenango County, Delaware County, Tioga County. I had all of the small towns, boots on the ground, right? In a wheelchair, by the way. And he was, handing out carpenters' masks and voting for the vaccine and all of this arbitrary garbage. And, I didn't win, but I broke the party record for state senate. And I always talk about.
What do you mean by earning the most votes for a libertarian state senate?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
13.7% or something like that. You can look it up. It's public record. And, obviously for many reasons, my message was healthcare. I had to defy the federal government when I was 15 years old, 1998, to receive a life-saving drug. It was life-saving for me with my condition. And I've never appreciated the FDA. The Food and Drug Administration determines what is and is not a wheelchair, and I have a mind to go feed them one. And the wheelchairs in this country, other studies are showing they break down the rate of 50% of them in a 6-month period. We don't do good by our veterans. And the repair times, the average repair time for a breakdown in a wheelchair is 5 months. And I have been advocating for, this year I think makes it 28 or 29 years. And the number of people that I have watched gain disability. I was born with mine, but we're talking about people who gain disability. They might have built a business or had a career. They lose that. If they have a spouse and children, they lose them. Of course, you're going to lose your house because of the mortgage. And the last things they lose are their minds and their lives. And, it was just a few years ago, I was advocating for an Army veteran who lost his legs to sepsis. His insurance company, because sepsis is life-threatening, required to cut off his legs to the tune of $1 million. But because the regulations allow them to put him through a 2-year appeals process for a wheelchair, they turned right around after cutting off his legs and told him he didn't need a wheelchair.
Wow.
And he was diabetic. I don't think I have to say what happens to a legless diabetic who's bedridden for 2 years.
So who's the villains in this discussion? Is it the insurance companies? Is that number one? Is it the hospital systems, the doctors? Because usually in a lot of bad healthcare situations, there's lots of partners in this. It's just not one. But give me your ranking give me the villain ranking in this in your war for better wheelchairs for folks.
Top tier is going to be Congress and private equity companies. The ACA handed a lot of this industry to private equity companies, which, as you know, don't have to disclose what they're doing or why. And when we talk about healthcare, they're looking at the dollars, not the user satisfaction. I like to say if you want to spend $10 for $1 worth of goods and services, use a government program, and private equity companies lobby.
So where are the private equity companies showing up in this equation? They own the hospitals, the equipment companies. Tell me.
Yes, the hospitals, the equipment companies, the insurance companies, they own it all. For the most part. Most insurance companies want to do better, but their business, they have to stay in business and they have to follow the regulation. Business regulation is overhead. If you're not staying in business, you're not going to be in business.
Yep.
So the reality here is it comes down to bureaucracy, it comes down to regulation. If you look at the statistics, wheelchairs do actually make the top 30 most dangerous consumer goods list. I'm a gun culture person. We grew up hunting. Without that, we wouldn't have eaten. And I like to say wheelchairs make that list. Guns do not.
So you make this. What's the name of the movie again?
The movie is The Power to Move, and you can actually rent or buy that on Amazon Prime right now. Am I allowed to screen share?
Yes. Well, I don't know. That's a great question. Tony, is he allowed to screen share?
Well, I'm going to try.
Let's do it. Worst comes to worst, it yells at you and tells us we learned nothing.
Do you see that?
We do see that.
All right. So that's The Power to Move.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We're okay. And so if you want the movie you're creating awareness, right?
Yeah.
What do you try? What action are you kind of? I guess my last thing here is what is the action you want to inspire with the movie and your crusade here?
So the movie is to highlight what we do. We create open hardware. Are you familiar with that term?
Tell me more.
All right. So open hardware is a lot like open software. We create a design out of materials and parts that are readily available. We have so much better tech in the market than what they use in today's wheelchairs and other equipment. But because, you don't have to follow the regulations if you're open hardware. If you're not selling it, you don't have to follow it. And we create designs that communities can build, nonprofits that exist in this can build, and just about anybody can build. That's the point. We can do better by buying things off of the internet and putting them together than our big bad government with all of its regulations and throwing away money can do.
All right. So it's the idea that a lot of companies work in planned obsolescence, right? It's the idea, like it's happened in the computer world, right? That they would make the little spot only fit their stupid replacement instead of having more generic replacement parts, right? Is that where we're at?
iPhones and John Deere are both famous for this.
Yes.
So I personally test the endurance powered mobility device. If I called it a wheelchair, the FDA would slap me. So the endurance, I treat this like a four-wheeler in the Catskill Mountains for 3 days before I have to charge it, and it only takes 6 hours to charge. Most of these chairs aren't good for much more than a flat floor. Our insurance, our healthcare system, if you want to call it that, which is an oxymoron, they pay between $30,000 and $100,000 for a custom powered wheelchair, and it goes to the dump in 3 to 5 years. The endurance is a 30-year device minimum.
So let me ask you a question: if some go-getter wanted to make a powered wheelchair that was, flexible, easy to modify, and use more generic parts, what kind of hoops would I have to jump through from hell to make that happen?
You'd have to find a fabricator, someone who could turn a wrench, and someone that knows electronics, and download our design and go forth and do.
So the government has a whole bunch of regulations that can kibosh such a thing?
Not yet.
Oh, thank you.
In fact, we're looking to move the organization to Arizona because I recently met with Nick Cupper, who passed the right to modify for your quote unquote wheelchairs.
We just
that means you have the right to modify the chair for your own specific needs. Often you go through all of the process to get it set up so it's perfectly fit, and it comes and it doesn't fit. And that can cause more health problems, let alone dissatisfaction and discomfort. So now you have the right to modify your equipment in Arizona. That means your legislature is already kind of protecting what we do. And why not come here for that?
For the listeners, Nick's the guy who wanted to do the Autobahn test on Interstate 8 between Casa Grande and basically Dateland. So as you're driving, if you want to go 100, God bless you.
And I do in a wheelchair.
Amen. I love it. Well, Thomas, tell us the next time you're out in Arizona. Would love to hang out and meet with you, and keep up the good work. The Power to Move is the movie, and you can get me. You can get this on Amazon Prime.
Yep, it should come out on other streaming services. Royalties go to the foundation to help us do our work, by the way. So watching it is fundraising. And you can donate directly to THEMIF as in Frank.org. The Myth, we're miffed. There is something else about all of this. Lacking appropriate equipment keeps us from jobs. It keeps us from getting off of welfare. I've been an advocate for some 28 or 9 years now, and I have seen a shift in the disability community. That community has gone from begging for bigger welfare checks to begging for a way off of welfare. And that the one thing that Republicans say often that really grinds my gears is a hand up, not a handout. And I have yet to see a hand up. And I'm here to give that hand up.
Well, there's a lot thrown around by those organizations that you're talking about. to keep people from giving too many hand-ups.
Yep, we need a hand up. We need off of welfare. It's not sustainable. It's not going to last, and it actually removes our constitutionally protected rights.
Thomas, thanks for Dru and Peter. Thanks for bringing them our way.
Absolutely.
And good luck with everything. And like I said, let us know when you're in Arizona, and we'll go break bread one day.
I'll be back in September.
Awesome.
Yay.
What a wimp. You're going to wait till the weather cools off. sick of you, Quieter. Sick of you already. So
I'll be back again in January too.
Thank you. Yeah, of course you are. So, all right, my man. Good talking to you.
Thanks, Thomas.
You take care.
Thank you for having me.
Great to
All
meet
right.
you, Thomas.
All right, we're going to go to break, visit some great sponsors, and you're on Live the Dream Media with Chris, Dru, and Peter. It's the Libertarian Happiness Hugging and Enlightenment Hour. And this is where it gets crazy. We're just going to be free-falling and free-balling in libertarian issues coming up. Bruce is coming up next with Eb Wilkinson, and they have our friend Robert Wells, former retired naval captain, who's going to be giving you the latest updates on what's going on with Iran. I don't know if they're going to be talking about Trump and the Easter Bunny on the balcony, but they should. You're on the Live the Dream Media Network. Oh, hi now. I was explaining to my good libertarian friends about the magic of Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead, and neither of them watched it, because it all started with hip-hop Grand Mistress here with her cool hat that says
Taxation is theft.
Taxation is theft, to celebrate Tax Day coming up next week. And I made a HAL 2000 reference from Space Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
Peter explained that you had never seen it,
Yeah, I know the reference, but have not seen the film.
but this is now being shown at the Libertarian World Headquarters of Southern Arizona.
Next week, Thursday.
That's amazing.
Doors open at 5:30. Movie starts at 6.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. So anyway, HAL 2000. So Peter, for some god awful reason, you wanted to say, look, you said, you wanted to tie Lord of the Rings in with the Trump administration.
Yeah.
Okay. But I
Yeah,
want
we
to, in
did.
full disclosure, a friend of yours did a Claude AI
Inquiry.
inquiry. Yes.
Yeah.
Which I think, I can't speak for my friend Dru here, but I think we're both disgusted that you were basing any of this on AI.
Right.
Do you feel
Absolutely.
dirty?
I do.
Okay.
I do, but I don't, because I'm not the one who did it. I wasn't there when it
It's
happened.
the other kids were smoking pot there, Dad. I wasn't.
Yeah.
He didn't inhale.
Dru beat me to it.
My hands are clean of this, but because
But are they,
Seems to be a
though?
little blood spatter there, Lady Macbeth. But keep going. Keep
well,
going.
because I learned of this afterward, I'm still able to talk about it. So yeah, it seems like a kind of a weird connection, right? But here's the interesting thing.
Yes.
So to give some background, you need to know about the Dark Enlightenment. And I think we've discussed that before on the show probably a few months ago.
Explain it in 31 seconds or less, the Dark Enlightenment.
Dark Enlightenment is a philosophy that was developed by Nick Land, who's a Brit, and Curtis Yarvin, who's out of Silicon Valley, about how the actual Enlightenment is the reason why we're experiencing so many bad things and why we can never have nice things. So we have to reverse it. And the way to do it is to turn our republic into a corporation with a CEO at the top, basically acting as a corporate king and sovereign and monetizing everything in the country so that rather than citizens and voting citizens, we become shareholders. So that's the model. And that has been very influential on a lot of the decision-making behind the scenes in the Trump administration, starting probably on the campaign trail back in 24, leading into when it came into ascendancy last year in 25.
We think some shareholders might become more equal than other shareholders, as we say at the old farm.
That's part of the nature of shareholders. Shareholders are never equal, right? Yeah, so that is kind of the background to this. Now, what is interesting is this person in question, they made a query to Claude. which is Anthropic's agentic AI, their large language model. And the question was map the Lord of the Rings mythology onto the Trump administration, because one of the really salient features of Silicon Valley, which is, what I would argue is probably one of the two largest entities that are influencing the administration, is they name all their stuff after Lord of the Rings.
Palantir, the Seeing Stones.
Yeah, Palantir, Anduril, Mithril Capital, Narya Capital. Now you've got Ereborn, which is supposed to be the sovereign wealth fund, which will hold all of the wealth of the country that we will all be tied into, and it's going to be managed through XAI.
Soiling Narya with a capital fund,
right? And so it was interesting because one of the things that Claude suggested is that we're following a theme from Return of the King.
Okay.
And that theme involves the Mad King archetype. So there was this guy, and I'm horrible with the names from Lord of the Rings. I want to say his name was Denethor,
yes.
But he was this guy who was basically, he was a steward of the realm in the absence of the king.
Correct. So the Kingdom of Gondor, the big white city in Return of the King, what happened was they installed a steward system, basically, that became hereditary.
Right. Yeah.
Until, quote, spoiler, the Return of the King. Which turns out to be Aragorn,
right,
son of Arathorn.
Exactly. And so what is important about that is, do I have this guy's name right? Denethor?
Denethor is correct.
Okay.
You're saying it right, you're there.
Okay. So Denethor, if you've read the books or if you've seen the movies, he had two sons. The first son was part of the original Fellowship of the Ring.
Boromir.
Who died.
Sean Bean, of course. Sean Bean dies in most of his movies.
Okay, perfect. Right. And he
Look it up. There's a compilation of it. It's very sad.
Okay, good to know. And so he was the favorite son, right? And so the surviving son, his brother, basically gets sent into battle to die by his father, Denethor.
Correct.
And he returns and basically is considered by his father to be a disappointment. And his father goes mad at some point, and his son is unconscious because of being in battle. And so his father tries to immolate him. Right?
Correct.
Tries to set him on fire. And in so doing, basically other heroes in the movie fight him off, and he ends up actually catching on fire himself, jumping out the window. But this is the Mad King archetype who gets ultimately displaced by Aragorn. So what Claude says is that Trump is being set up as Denethor. He's being set up as the Mad King. We started talking about this off air a little bit in regard to the goings-on Easter morning, right? Trump and the Easter Bunny. Lots of other things playing into that right now. Lots of people sort of questioning his sanity a little bit for various reasons. Rightly or wrongfully, the questioning is happening. J.D. Vance has been sort of tangibly absent in everything that's been going on with the Iran invasion, right? He's kind of been...
Now, in the update world, J.D. Vance was supposedly, because they originally showed him up in one of the eastern countries. He was propping up some President Orban out there. I forgot what country he's in again. But he supposedly was part of this 15-day ceasefire discussion.
Right.
So just to let you know, he hasn't been totally...
No.
But I don't know what's going on in reality. I'm just telling you, all what we know is that he was supposedly part of the ceasefire discussion that happened.
Well, and that's perfect for this discussion, because as part of that ceasefire discussion, he may be framed as kind of a voice of reason. So the argument could be that the invasion, when it happened in the first place, was illegal, or it was ill-advised. It wasn't well thought out. It hasn't gone the way that people thought. Kind of crazy.
When was the last legal war we had, Peter?
World War II.
I mean, so we had this discussion. He kind of pissed off. His name is Charles Goyette out of Phoenix, and I know he ticked off some of our listeners because he was talking about how we've had hundreds of military operations with no declaration of anything, right?
Right.
But in the end, and I mean, you guys can disagree with me, this is what we do here, right? Is the fact that no legislator actually wants to be on a vote for or against the war, depending on how it goes politically, because...
Because they aren't tied to the Constitution and that oath that they took. They're tied to whether or not they're going to get voted back into office.
So they're happy to abdicate their declaration of war powers that they don't have to ever be pinned on them that they were either against a popular war that went well or they were for a crappy war that went bad.
Right.
That's how, I mean, in the end, Congress, the abdication of their responsibility for 90 years is just astounding.
Sure. No,
5 years.
Congress has some responsibility they have to accept that responsibility of abdication of their own constitutional
That's why we have so much executive power going on, right? Because they don't,
Well, so I think
as long as they get to control the money, they don't care about what's going on the rest of the time.
Sure.
That's what I see.
Sure. No,
and do they control the money, or they just get their piece of the stolen pie? I think that's
Well, so it's
individually
no, I'm with you. So there's that perception
correct
of controlling the money.
Yes.
But then they throw their little crumbs out to you. And then you get to go back to your district and go, I got you money for a new bridge or whatever it is. Right. But just and again, Schweikert just gave us the update when him and I were speaking last week together. We're over $100,000 a second now on borrowing.
Right. It's unrecoverable.
So at this
Probably
story, which was at this lunch, it was all Republicans, right? They were good people. I love them to death. But he had to ruin their day on Doge, right? He says, "Well, how much?"
Wait, the Libertarians did that first. We ruined your day on Doge.
All right, they ruined the Libertarians ruined our day on Doge first. I promise. But what happened was, he said, well, how much do you think really has been saved on Doge, right? And the numbers, I think he said 7 billion. Don't hold me to the fire on that one. But he goes, we're going to borrow that by 4:00 this afternoon.
Right.
It
was complete optics.
So essentially nothing.
Right.
Yeah, because the average person out there doesn't know how much we're in debt. They know it's probably pretty big, but they don't have numbers in front of them. So if you give them, let's say, 7 million that Doge saved, it's going to seem pretty impressive.
Sounds big.
Yeah, it sounds big because you don't
numbers.
know. Yeah, you don't understand the ratio to the actual
Relativity,
debt.
Einstein.
I do want to catch up on a little live chat because sometimes we get talking and I forget. I want to bring in our brothers and sisters out there. Goldwater might be able to help our friend Thomas with some of the, and actually Bill already reached out from Goldwater to have that discussion. So we'll hook up him and Thomas. So
Beautiful.
That's good. Keith said, great call in from Thomas. Catherine, great guest today. Love you guys. I think she means you guys. Sandia Waves. Thomas should visit the Arizona training program in Coolidge for adaptive workshop customer built wheelchairs.
Awesome. I'll be there actually, since I'm
wheelchairs.
an advocate here in Arizona until he gets here. So
Got it. And then Penelope said, J.D. Vance stumping for Orban because he feels so strongly that foreign leaders shouldn't interfere with foreign elections. And then it says, hi, Zelensky being hosted by Democrats fall of 2024. Right. Yeah. Penelope, you are correct. Remember Obama was doing that too, where he was stumping for certain, I guess in the UK or whatever. You are correct. Don't complain about it if you're going to do it yourself. I learned it by watching you, Dad, as we say in the Say No to Marijuana commercial. So, all right, continue on, Faramir of Gondor.
Okay, sure. Well, so ultimately, and we're getting to the main point here, is that if Trump is being framed as Denethor, the Mad King,
yes,
Vance is being framed as Aragorn. In other words, the person who is going to be reasonable, who's going to sort of ride in to bring structure and order back to the kingdom. And in his role as vice president, he is in a position to basically fulfill that role.
I guess my counter to that is Aragorn, when he became king, supposedly did a pretty good job being king. I'm not saying what J.D. Vance is going to do.
Well,
just telling you what happened.
Well,
Aragorn was pretty kick-ass. I want to let you know that.
No, he was. And I think the parallel breaks down there, but this is a parallel that is being ultimately framed by Silicon Valley. Right. And J.D. Vance is
he's their guy.
He's their guy. So it's in their best interest to frame him in this way because he's the one who can give them what they want if he ascends to power.
Okay.
And so that's basically the.
I mean, the telegraphing of using the words of Professor Tolkien here is pretty wild.
Yeah.
Right. That all these things, and again, the seeing stones of the Palantir. They weren't a force for good, just to let you know. It was used to seduce. Sauron used the seeing stones to seduce, especially Saruman and that kind of thing. We're getting geeked out now. Sorry, it's life. But Okay, I can see where your evil Claude friend's going.
Right.
So-
Well, and so the other thing that's interesting about this is, I mentioned I think there's two primary entities that have been influencing the administration. And I would argue Silicon Valley's one and basically Israel's the other. Israel is aligned most closely with Trump. He's basically the one who is helping them to achieve their goals. Vance would be the one helping Silicon Valley. They are, I would argue, kind of like rival gangs who have some interests in common, and they'll work together to achieve them when they need to, but they're not the same. So what sort of looks like has happened is that Trump has gotten to go first and basically make power moves on the behalf of the people he's aligned with, which is the state of Israel. Silicon Valley's waiting for their turn. Right now, they've had a lot of success in terms of domestic rollout. Things like Palantir, for example, the actual company, right, that's named after the Sing Stones. Anduril, Palmer Luckey's company, same thing, and so on and so forth. But the end game is, like what we talked about with Patrick in January, it's technocracy, technocratic control. And that is ultimately, I think, the bigger picture. So, Trump gets to do what he wants to geopolitically.
What's the number one reason the U.S. is involved in anything in the Middle East, Peter?
I would say that the number one reason that they are involved is ultimately to restructure the landscape of the Middle East.
But why? Why? So you say,
yeah.
What's the most important thing for the U.S. in the Middle East? I think Drew knows I'm trying to set you up here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what do you think it is?
So there are two things that I have to talk about simultaneously because one's embedded within the other.
Okay.
So there's the more obvious one that a lot of people talk about, which is the interest that the Israeli government has in Eretz Israel, which is the larger hegemonic structure that involves a large part of the Middle East geographically, from Egypt all the way over to parts of Syria, including a large part of Saudi Arabia. It's framed geographically based on rivers. But that is embedded within a larger plan that just recently got a name, as far as I know. It's called IMEC, which is the India Middle East Energy and Economic Corridor, which is a massive piece of real estate that is intended to be competitive with the Belt and Road Initiative.
And I think where Chris is going in that with and to tie the both of you together is
Drew
that
is
the
like
currency,
she's like my Peter whisperer.
Yes.
currency is oil,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
But it's just simply the currency for these greater agendas, which.
Right. Well, and if you want to talk about oil, you have to talk about not only the fact that, people obviously use it for energy. And so it's important in terms of, it's a form of currency, tangible currency in that way, but it can also be used for blackmail. Look what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz right now. You can not only deliver it to people, you can cut people off from it.
Okay.
And by doing that, you can do a couple of other things. You can create poverty, famine, because fertilizers are based on oil. Lots of different forms of production are based on oil. But you can also drive movement toward other things. For example, the green energy paradigm. So things like solar, hydro, wind,
Right.
things that are not dependent on the petroleum economy.
So do you think anything in the green economy, green energy is decently efficient enough right now to replace oil?
No, it's not. And that's the interesting thing, because what I've been talking to people about in the last year is we're seeing this really obvious bifurcation where oil is being directed more and more toward the machine economy, and the renewables are being directed toward the human economy. So basically, people are being set up to enjoy the really unreliable stuff, where the things that we know that we can count on, oil, also nuclear power.
Well, on the green side, there's people, they have, whether they're unconscious about it or whatever, they're willing to deal with an inefficient form of energy because one of it makes them feel better, right? Even though one, it's not that efficient, and two, it may not even be that much of a saver in the world of the of the environment.
Sure. No, it's
Correct.
not at all.
Right.
I think it's meant to be
All
crippling.
right, let's get you in real trouble now at 8:54 in the morning.
Okay.
So when you look at the Middle East,
Yeah.
and you look at countries that I'm going to give you two countries, and you're going to say which one's a more positive force in the world.
Mhm.
You can either say one's better than the other, or they're the same.
Okay.
Israel and Iran.
Okay, so this reminds me of when we talked about presidential candidates last year. And I had the chance to go back and take my initial answer back. Thank you, Chris, for allowing that.
I'm only a semi-unreasonable human being.
Sure.
I would remind you of when we spoke before the Board of Supervisors and how we differentiated between, because I understand what the setup is. The setup is
Oh, I
to
do
choose
too.
between governments and ruling classes. And there is a dividing line. And I don't mean to steal your thunder,
No, it's
Peter,
okay.
but it's
He's been
that.
talking a lot.
I've been talking a lot. Go ahead.
But that it's we do take a side, but it's not with the ruling class of either government,
Mhm.
Israel or Iran. It's with the Iranian people. And that's where we as individuals, I'm putting words in Peter's mouth right now, and as a party actually stand, is with the people in both of those countries, not with their government.
Well, and that's beautiful, right? We can say the same thing about we can say that about the United States.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So the question is, but the ruling...
But it's not ethereal. It is real.
I know it's real.
Okay.
But there is a really huge separation between the people of Iran and the ruling class of Iran. Would you agree with that?
I would not agree with that, Chris. I
So
would
you-
not agree with that.
so
I
you-
think what we're fed is a lot of propaganda.
So you think basically the people in a majority of the people in Iran are 100% into militant Islam theocracy?
No, that's not what I'm saying at
Okay.
all.
Well, the ruling class is a militant Islam theocracy or not in Iran?
Are you understand?
Well,
I'm
yeah.
not.
So,
this went off.
Can
Yeah.
I jump back?
Yeah,
in?
he needs to interpret me now.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay. So
I think I'm the problem personally.
no, I want to step back a
And we
second.
literally have 2 minutes to wrap this up.
Yeah. So we're
Sorry.
no,
I
it's
asked a big question when I shouldn't have.
Sure.
no, that's okay.
It's
So I do want to step back really briefly and say I think that there's actually a big difference between the ruling class in both countries and the citizens. As an example of that, and we talked about this last year also, Israel was the most highly COVID vaccinated country in the entire world. Coerced vaccination because of their ruling class. Imposing that onto the people. The government of Israel actually has a long history of using much of the population, the citizens of Israel's human shields. And so I would say that both Israel and Iran are guilty.
That's a big line about human shields.
Yeah.
All right, okay. I got to go. Believe it or not. Bruce has got to do his show. This would be rude for me to tie into his thing. This is what we're going to do next month.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go deep on this.
Okay.
So,
I look forward to it.
I love talking to you guys. You know that.
We appreciate it, Chris. Thanks.
And please hook up Mr. Thomas Quieter with William Beard.
Absolutely.
Because I think they're working on some similar tracks together.
Okay. And give me that information about what's happening in Coolidge.
I will. And Hot
Thanks.
Fuzz. You got to watch
Okay.
Hot Fuzz. You got to watch Hot Fuzz.
Great.
God bless you guys. Happy Easter. Thanks for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll
Thank
talk to
you,
you soon.
Chris.
Remember, next week, 2001: A Space Odyssey. You get to watch Drew watch it for the first time. I'm just telling you, there's monkeys smashing bones in the beginning. Don't get totally freaked out. So, all right, Inside Tracks coming up next.
The Dream Media Network, Southern Arizona's premier live talk and online radio.